I do that, Lilian, do you want to kick us off and just do a quick introduction? Who you are, what you do, before we get into why we're here talking about sustainable marketing?
Sure, absolutely. For anyone who doesn't know, my name is Lilian. I am a PR coach and publicist. And what I do is I empower creative entrepreneurs, small business owners, women in business, and fellow coaches to harness the power of public relations to achieve their goals by launching successful PR campaigns. So, through one on one coaching, I work with them to develop strong and resilient mindsets, as well as give them the tools, the resources, and the support they need to learn how to manage public relations like a pro.
I love that. I love every single piece of that, especially how it's really even just the ending of it, right? Of handling it like a pro, not just getting swept up in, oh my gosh, I'm doing this, but really that I'm doing this in a way that makes sense, that helps me grow my business and reach the goals. That's phenomenal.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really got into it because although the general framework is the same, right? Everybody needs the pitch. They need to know what they're sharing through email. Everybody needs to know who they're sending the email pitch to. And everybody needs to know, how do I actually want to be presented in the media? Like, if somebody's going to be using my photo for an interview, how do I want that to look? The specifics of what all of that looks like is really different depending on the entrepreneur, depending on their industry, and depending on what their goals are. So for me as a PR coach, it's really about helping them get to the bottom of, how can we make public relations work for you, your goals, and your audiences.
Okay, I have so many questions. I know we're going to talk about all the things sustainable marketing, but before we even get into that, can you tell us a little bit more around public relations? Because I feel like for entrepreneurs that have really started in this entrepreneur space and may not have a lot of experience with more like traditional or corporate business, when you think of PR, what does that mean? Like, can you give us the rundown real quick before we get into why we're going to use PR and how we're going to use it? Like, what is it? Just what is PR?
Basically, PR is a strategic communications process that you can use to share your story with the general public through the relationships you build with the media. So, what do I mean by that? When I talk about developing relationships with the media, media is not just about your newspapers, your magazines, your broadcast TV talk shows anymore. Media is your online websites, media is your podcasts, media is your YouTube shows, or even somebody who has Instagram lives. What you're doing by developing a relationship with the media is, you are sharing your story through them. These platforms are always looking for content, right? They want to share stories that their audiences are going to get educated by, entertained by, and captivated with. So they're constantly looking for great stories. And the reason why you want to share your story on their platform is to get out there in front of a bigger audience that you can't otherwise gain access to. So, by leveraging the relationships that you have when you reach out to a podcaster, when you reach out to someone with a YouTube show, when you reach out to somebody with a blog or a newsletter, what you're doing is you are leveraging the trust that their audiences have in their platforms in order to get your message out there. So basically, if you show up on a podcast that their audience loves and it's your chosen audience, let's say you're looking to get in front of people that want easier access to mental health services. And as a software engineer, you've created an app that connects people to mental health services. If you appear on a podcast that talks about mental health, that's something that the audience you want to get in front of is going to gravitate towards, because there's going to be podcast listeners that are going to come across your episode and that are going to be like, hey, I want that. I need that. This is really timely. I'm glad I listened to this episode. Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely. And I really loved how you explained it. It's about leveraging the relationships, because that's one of the things that I harp on a lot with my clients and in general is business is not transactional. No piece of business is meant to be transactional. So the fact that you're talking about public relations being really about that relationship building, that human to human connection, that yes, you're leveraging to grow your visibility, to get you clients, to reach whatever goals you're working towards, but it all roots down into the relationships. I think that's just so critical and really speaks to why it's sustainable.
Absolutely, because it's not just a one-off opportunity, right? If you have a relationship with a podcaster or someone who has an online site or something, there's always an opportunity for you to make a return interview, like to go get on there for a return visit and share more of your story, or if you have a new product or a new service, or you are reaching out to them because you're in town for an event, so you're going to talk about what you're doing for that specific event. There's always more opportunities that aren't just about that first interview. That's getting your foot in the door, but once that happens, there's countless chances for you to continue to build on that relationship, to allow audiences to learn more about you from you directly, and to grow your audience.
It goes back to that statistic, right? I think the current data is current clients are 65% more likely to be repeat clients than if you were to get someone brand new off the street. The same thing applies with your marketing and your media contacts. It's so much easier to build that relationship upon something that's already standing versus going out and pitching yourself to so many brand new people who don't know who you are yet.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So I know that you work with a lot of creatives, and I love that your example was the software engineer, because that to me is like creative and also does not fall into my normal description of creatives. But what I have so many questions. Sorry, Lilian. I guess my first one I start with is, what makes this more sustainable than social media? if you're constantly having to go out and pitch and put a podcast tour together or a speaking assignment or things like that, what really makes this more sustainable in the long run than creating a bunch of content for Instagram or Facebook or even LinkedIn?
I'll say this about social media. As a outreach method that doesn't require a lot of tools or tech know-how for every entrepreneur to get started in, it's a great way to get started in building your audience because you can post content. You can post content and you can use it as a platform to get to know people and to build community, right? And by community, I don't just mean in your geographical area, but community in the form of, hey, we're all writers. Hey, we're all filmmakers. Hey, we're all startup people, right? So it has its benefits in that way, but it also has its limitations. And the limitations really come down to the fact that you don't own these platforms. Okay. So because you don't own these platforms, who sees your content and when they see it and how they see it and how many people see it is something you have no control over, right? And because of that, I know there have been a lot of entrepreneurs in my audience and also my clients who really struggle to grow their audiences. The beauty of public relations, of PR, is that it lives outside of social media. So, what social media can do is that it can help you drive traffic to that article, to that podcast interview, to that video of you doing a live panel Q&A on stage for a nonprofit event that you were at. So it can help you drive traffic to those things. But the beauty of these pieces of media coverage is that because they don't live on social media, you can drive traffic to them all day long. There's no algorithm controlling how people see it. So the more of these pieces that you have shared on a newsletter, put on your website, put on someone's blog, the more people will see your name and this content come up in search results. And the other thing that's really awesome is it can get optimized for search engines so that even if you did an interview a couple years back, if you're talking about similar topics, right, based on the keywords, people can still pick up those interviews because they're relevant. They're not dated. They're talking about evergreen topics because those topics are timeless. People can continue to learn from you on it. And it's also about keeping it sustainable. So many entrepreneurs that I've worked with and that I've spoken to over the years have also really, really struggled with developing a content strategy for social media because they say that their biggest issue is that they don't know what to share with people or how often to share with people. PR can also help you take care of that in the sense that you have fantastic, high quality, trustworthy content that's been created on your behalf. You don't have to create something new and telling people, hey, buy my book, or hey, sign up for my service. You have this fantastic interview, you have this fantastic article, whatever it is that shows your audience, hey, it's not just this startup founder that keeps trying to promote their stuff on sale. People are actually talking to this guy. People actually want to learn from him. People actually are listening to what he has to say. I think I should check out this interview, you know? So it really works fantastic in terms of extending the life cycle of your story and helping you build your reputation as an industry leader by increasing the mentions of your name through search engines, you know?
I'm in love with every single thing that you said, from the fact that it is SEO. It does help you build up that credibility, not just from an influencer style social media presence, but really from that true leader in your industry, leader in your niche who has things to say. And then going the other route of, well, other people are listening to this human speak. Like, they must not be wholly crazy, or, there must be a nugget or two there that it's worth listening to me, if you listening to them, if they're on this podcast, or they did this interview or wrote this magazine article, etc. I think you really touched well on the, like, really core pieces that make PR such a great tool for people across industry lines, whether they're creatives, whether they're energy workers, whether they're digital coaches, whatever it is, really utilizing PR to grow your brand and to grow your business, not just to grow quote unquote visibility or lead generation.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think one thing, Chrissy, that really gets overlooked by a lot of entrepreneurs who don't think PR is for them because they believe that you have to spend thousands of dollars or that you need to have a celebrity level platform in order to make it work, is that what makes it really unique is that it digs beyond what you do and what features you offer and what services you offer, and really gets to the heart of who you are and why you do what you do and why that matters. What makes it really unique is that when you choose to step out there and do an interview, what you're doing is you're allowing people to get to know you, not about what you do, but more so about why, and why you are the person who can help them solve the issues that they're having because you've been through what they've been through. And that's a way for people to learn how to trust you quicker. Because otherwise, if they are just comparing features of your latest product next to someone else's product, that doesn't tell them why they should be working with you over someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it gets to, I want to add two things. So one, you said before that when you're not focused on the trends or the algorithms or things like that, the focus really is on the material, what it is that you're talking about, right? You don't have to worry about, is it going to fit a 90-second reel, or can I do this or can I do that? You really get to focus on the subject matter at hand. And then you also just said it's about you and your heart and the things that make you you. And I know that when I started out with PR years ago doing podcast interviews, and some were like vlog style, they went on YouTube as videos, I wildly gesture and I make really weird faces when I talk. Like, it's just I can fix my tone, I can't fix my face kind of situation. And I started out being really nervous of like, oh my gosh, are they going to think that I'm this like really unprofessional woman because I gesture with every other word that I say? But I've had people actually come and comment on podcasts or reach out to me after the fact and be like, I do that too. It was so reassuring to see, somebody in this leadership space who doesn't, sit on their hands, who gestures wildly and has these like ridiculous sarcastic faces on. And I think that's maybe a silly sounding example, but it's also part of who you are. And I really like how you touched on PR helps you to show your heart, helps you to show who you really are and why you're doing this thing rather than just, hey, come buy the thing that I'm selling today.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know that it's scary for a lot of entrepreneurs, particularly women in business, to get vulnerable in that way because we've all been conditioned in one way or the other to stay quiet, stay small, just kind of stay in your lane when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. But the fact of the matter is that when there are so many people doing what you do, the differentiator that's going to make potential clients and customers trust you is going to be your story, your personal and professional lived experiences that is going to tell them that you can relate to what they're going through because you've been there as well. So that's really at the end of the day what people want to know. I mean, if they feel like they can resonate with your story and they feel like they can trust you to understand what they're going through, then that's really what matters. It's not about features, it's not about price. All of that stuff are things that you can work out later. But to really build that relationship and build that connection, it's about finding strength in your own vulnerability to get out there and go, this is my experience, this is what happened, this is what I learned from it, and this is exactly why I work with clients to make sure that they don't go through the same things I did.
Yeah, it's that when I've seen, I don't want to spend the whole time crapping on social media because I think it's a great tool when it's used appropriately. But there's been so much messaging out there lately, especially around like business coaches and coaches that are experts in their field, right? That are like teaching other people around this idea of you don't have to be liked by your clients, that they don't really have to care about you as a person. They just want to know your skills. They don't want to know your story. They don't want to know your kids' names, your dog's names, or what you do on the weekend. They just want to know how you serve that, which I completely disagree with. And it sounds like you do as well. Is again, it really is about building those relationships, showing your heart and showing it's not just a way to make money, right? The business is not just a way to make money. The thing I'm selling is not just a way to have you pay me, but really at the end of the day, it's how are we helping one another? How are we seeing and really acknowledging each other for who we are? And PR gives you a chance to do that in a way that many other marketing strategies do not, at least not as quickly and effectively.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's definitely a space in, or there should be if they're not already doing it, a space in every entrepreneur's marketing strategy for social media. But the danger is building your business primarily on social media because of the fact that you don't own that platform, which means someone else controls how your content is seen, or they even control if it gets removed, right? That's the danger of relying too much on it. And I think the best way to approach building a marketing strategy should really be about diversifying. and figuring out how to incorporate social media in order to drive traffic to your website, in order to get people to sign up for your newsletter, and in order to get them to listen to your latest interview, I think is really the best way to utilize it, because then it's a method that you're using to drive traffic to everything else, but that's not the only thing your business is built on. So that if for some reason, if tomorrow you lose access to those platforms, your whole business doesn't go down in flames with it. And I think that it's also really important I don't understand that rhetoric about your clients just want to know what your skills are, because there's so many people that have those skills. The skills and the results are not important, but to me they are secondary when you're looking to work with a coach, whether it's a business coach, a life coach, a mindset coach. You really have to be able to trust that person, because as a client, as a customer, you're getting vulnerable with that person. You are putting yourself in a position where you are looking to them for guidance and for clarity. And if you're not sure that you can trust that person because you don't even know anything about them, then for me, you're really setting that relationship up for failure. So that's not a rhetoric that I understand. But to the point about social media, it has its place. Where it can get dangerous is when you allow yourself to rely too much on it. And then, because the visibility of your content isn't controlled by you, it can also really stagnate your audience. And it becomes an echo chamber of the fact that everybody who sees what you're doing or what you're sharing are the same people. So you can't grow your audience or your business the way that you would want to either.
Absolutely. I tell my people all the time, social media is a great tool as primarily a secondary marketing strategy, not as the end all be all, not as the thing that gets done first in the day, but as a supporting cast member. And it may change. Some people might put it primary, some may put it at the tertiary level, but really putting it in its spot. I love how you really use it to drive traffic to other pieces, and really using it more as massive outreach to cold audiences. Hey, come in now that you know about me and find me through my workshop, or connect with me in my email newsletter that goes out weekly, or here's my Spotify playlist of all of the podcast episodes I've done in the past year, something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I think it works really well as a traffic generator, and it works really well as kind of an initial way for someone to network with you on a global level.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to be depending on it as your primary method of sharing your content, and your primary and only method of reaching out to and having conversations with your audience, because you can lose access to that.
Absolutely. So, Lilian, I know that I could pepper you with questions all night long. I will not do that. So, before we leave, I do have one last question for you. Of what, maybe give me like the top 2 or 3. How do people get started with PR? Like, how do they get started if they're brand new, or maybe they did some podcast episodes or some interviews a couple of years ago and they didn't really see anything from it? But what's your number 1 or like top 3 tips on getting started in this?
I would say the first tip is being really clear on what your goals are with it. So if you want to appear on X number of podcasts, let's say 10 podcasts in the next 3 months, what's the goal behind that? Like, what are you actually looking to do? So having a clear goal in mind is really, really important. Second would be, what is it that is going to get people through the door to want to interview you and to want to listen to the interview? So what are you telling them about why you do what you do as an energy healer, as a business coach, as a mindset coach, as a startup founder who's working on an app related to mental health? What is the reasoning behind that, and why does it matter? Like, why is it important that their audiences hear about that? And then number three, and I think this often gets missed a lot, is the consistency and the sustainability piece. So if you are going out there and you're starting to land those podcast interviews and those interviews are starting to go live, you need to make sure that on a consistent basis, it doesn't have to be every day, but you also don't want to share it once every 6 months. You want to make sure that you are consistently letting people know that you did this interview. You're sharing with them great quotes or tidbits from the conversation that they should really pay attention to when they go to listen to it. You want to entice them to listen to the entire interview and to do it consistently in such a way that you're not draining your own energy. So no, you don't have to be sharing it 5-6 times a day, but you also want to be more consistent so that it's not like you're only sharing it once every 6 months and expecting people to know about your new service from that, or to know about the event that you're selling tickets for from that. There needs to be clear goals of what you want to do and why. You need to know what it is you're actually going to tell them that they're going to want to hear. And you need to be consistent when it comes to promoting that piece of media coverage when it goes live, because you want to make sure that people know it exists.
Oh, those are so good. I feel like I agree with you. I feel like number three, that consistency piece, is the one that people forget most often of, okay, I got to go pitch and I got to get out there and I got to do the thing. And like I shared about it once, that's enough, right? I did my due diligence. I shared once after the fact, but that's not going to get you the end goal that you want it to.
Exactly. Exactly.
So right. All right, Lilian, I know this was 30-ish minutes of your genius, but there is a very exciting opportunity for us to learn more about PR with you. Can you tell us more about your upcoming workshop?
Absolutely. I have an upcoming workshop known as The Secrets to Unlocking Your PR Superpowers. It will drop pre recorded on April 7th, and it will help you mine your personal and professional lived experiences to create irresistible stories that the media are going to want to learn more about. So through that workshop, you're going to learn how to take your raw professional and personal lived experiences and turn those into fantastic stories that the media are going to want to learn more about. And I'm going to help you refine those stories so that you get repeat interviews. They're going to ask you back again and again. So that drops April 7th. You can register for the workshop on my Instagram profile or through my newsletter as well.
I know I'm signed up for it. I'm super excited for it. I think it'll be one of those things that, as you said, it's really about how do you take those stories from your past, whether it's personal or professional or a mix of the two, and use it for different audiences, different stages, different types of PR, rather than just copy paste for a podcast and a radio interview and a TV slot. There are differences and nuances that I'm sure most of us don't know about. So I will be eagerly looking at my inbox on the 7th, and we'll also put the link to it in the caption of the live video once it goes up as a recording. Make it a little bit easier as well. Is there anything else that you want to share with us, Lilian, before we pop off for the afternoon?
I appreciate this opportunity, Chrissy. For anyone that has questions about the workshop, please don't hesitate to reach out to me either via email, Lilian at inretrospectwritingservices.com, or through Instagram and LinkedIn as well. And as always, Chrissy, I again really appreciate this opportunity, and I look forward to continuing this conversation with you because we could absolutely do a complete series.
Yes, we have so much more to talk about. We like barely touched on anything marketing and PR. It was just the basics today. But Lilian, thank you so much for your time this afternoon and for rescheduling. I know we were supposed to do this earlier in the week, so thank you so much, and we will speak soon.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Chrissy.